All right, good Monday morning, everybody. Mad Hatter Nation, how you doing? Good morning, America. How are ya? It is Monday, November 3rd, 2025. And what should have been a triumphant, victorious Monday for us here in the Motor City fandom, representing the pride. Well, now, guys, we had to learn a very tough lesson, and that is, one, we're not going to get any calls going our way. Obviously, the roughing the passer shit's still going to go on, and Jared Goff, well, he's going to need to be wrapped in bubble wrap, especially if our offensive line, which just a mere year or two ago was the catalyst, the engine, the focal point, the strong unit on our offense, now being plucked apart and poached out of the sky. Brian Flores, unfortunately, every time we go against the Minnesota Vikings defense, there seems to be something that always kinds of cracks. And this time, well, they picked on Graham Glasgow and Christian Mahogany, and I've been saying it for the entire season. Glasgow is not an equal replacement for Ragnow, and that is obviously a position that needs to be addressed in the offseason. My guy really dropped the ball. The other thing that we need to focus on is question. Did the Detroit Lions even practice this last week? Because if there was supposed to be any implementation or changes or rest and recovery to be had during the bye week, I didn't see it Sunday against the Minnesota Queens. That was embarrassing. Not a single cylinder was firing as it should. Every aspect of the game outside of some flashes on defense. And our opening drive, let's be honest, guys, and call a spade, looked like absolute dog water. Our pass rush could get there, but not quite in time. Our secondary could hold up, but not long enough. Our offensive line looked like ass. Amon-Ra St. Brown turned into Amon-Ra. Throw the ball on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs could not get rolling. Sam Laporta was a bright spot. And, well, good news, everybody. We got the ball to David Montgomery and Jameson Williams. A lot of goddamn good that did. Here we are sitting with another L. Another L in the right-hand column, and the NFC North tightens up because, thankfully, Carolina Panthers managed to do what some believe to be the inevitable. I had a feeling deep in my football bag that it could happen, so we won a couple of bucks there on the Panthers game. But, of course, then Cincinnati couldn't do us any favors and had one of the most epic implosions I have ever seen. One of the biggest, I mean, at the time, it was looking like the Bears had one of the biggest collapses, second-half defensive collapses in the history of the NFL. Oh, Cincinnati. Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, or snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, rather. I guess they ended up shooting themselves in the foot and allowed Ben Johnson and Giggle Williams to have ding dang wada wada bing bang 52-yard touchdown score to Colston Butthole Loveland. That's right, the first round tight end ended up getting a little bit of action, and the Bears ended up beating the Bengals. Couldn't do us any favors. So the North just tightened right up. It just tightened right up, and it appears to be Vegas knew what they were talking about, and it's going to be a slugfest right down to the bitter end. I did not like the performance out of anybody yesterday. Coaching staff, quarterback, offensive line, you name the position for the Detroit Lions. I was unimpressed. Underwhelmed at best, and just whelmed at worst. It was not the best day for the Detroit Lions, and if we don't shape up and turn this boat around, turn this motherfucker around on a dime on a very short week because you just burned your bye week, everybody was too busy playing dress up for Halloween on Instagram. Well, good job, boys and girls. You were not cool, calm, and collected. Taylor Decker is far too old, washed, and needs to be done in the NFL. Graham Glasgow is not the solution at center. Christian Mahogany does not look good. Does not look like a good situation for Christian Mahogany. And Tate Ratledge, rookie problems. We also seen Penei Sewell get poked in the eye. So there was just, it was what we call cascading failures, top to bottom, for the Detroit Lions. So now that I've monologued about the Lions for the first 5 minutes, let's go ahead. And first, we will be talking about The Commanders' QB, Jayden Daniels, suffered a dislocated left elbow injury and lost to the Seabags. He's expected to miss several games. And the third verse, same as the first, the ghost of Robert Griffin III continues to rear its ugly head, eating big croissants with his girlfriend over in France. But Jayden Daniels, hey, hopefully the Washington Commies pick up from where they, or don't pick up where they left off with RG3 and realize that they need to let this guy get healthy. And you're also going to have to invest in some offensive line help to protect your franchise quarterback. So we'll discuss that. And of course, the other news on everybody's forefront of their mind is the trade deadline. Live updates, latest rumors, news, deals ahead of the cutoff. And, Philadelphia. Probably a reason why they have been in multiple Super Bowls over the past few years and just recently won a Super Bowl. Setting the standard, they have made two huge deals right before the trade deadline. One just this very morning, getting the guy that I've been wanting from Miami. Miami being the hotbed, the plucking site, the fire sale down in South Florida. Jalen Phillips being dealt to the Philadelphia Eagles. They also went out and I think they grabbed Jair Alexander from Baltimore. So Philly trying to plug some holes or elevate some rooms that they need to make another Super Bowl run, something that the Detroit Lions have been either tight-lipped about or just no interest. And now with the performance of our offensive line and the apparent injury holes and performance holes that are emerging, I don't think a splash defensive player is in the cards for us. No. I think we need to now desperately look for some type of a lifeboat situation for our offensive line. But we will look at what USA Today has as far as any trade news. It's going to be popping. It's going to be rocking and rolling. If the NFL is going to be following suit with how they've been doing the past couple of years, I expect teams to be relatively busy at the trade deadline in comparison to where they were over many, many years. The NFL never really that hot and heavy as far as trades go mid-season, but boy, it's been really, we've been seeing trades happen interdivisionally week 4. It's wild. So the NFL kind of following suit with the NBA, and the other major sports leagues being a little bit more active at the trade deadline. So there's some names that I would like to kind of look at here over at this article if we have time permitting. Detroit makes historic announcement after Vikings game, so a little bit of silver lining in the dumpster fire that was yesterday's game. We will take a look at what Heavy has for us, as well as then we're going to roll to Detroit Lions on SI. Christian Boer. It's got a lot of hard facts and a lot of hard truths that we're going to have to take a long, hard look at in the mirror. Going to have to swallow some hard-to-swallow pills, but he gives out some Lions grades against Minnesota. We will look at that, and I skimmed it, didn't read it, but just the grades alone, I feel like he was far too liberal and far too kind to the Detroit Lions. Some grades not deserving of what they got as far as the height of them. There is no floor on these grades for me to dole out for the Lions. It was exactly as bad as I'm making it out to seem. Don't let the scoreboard fool you. We are not looking great. That is not a Super Bowl performing team. You're going to have to fix shit and fix it fast. And then as we kind of get even closer to the trade deadline, we do need to tamper our expectations. The Lions trading for an offensive lineman at the NFL trade deadline seems pretty unlikely. And here's why. A trade for an offensive lineman just might not happen. Mike Payton over at A to Z Sports. We like A to Z Sports. They got some good writers over there at A to Z Sports. Legit. They are not your cookie cutter main corporate media. They got some good takes. I like what I read out of them 90% of the time. Sometimes I don't agree, but that's kind of the fun of it, is not agreeing with everything everybody says. Otherwise, you just sit in an echo chamber playing with your own joystick. But Mike Payton's got some reality for us to swallow on top of it. And then finally, guys, I'm going to go ahead and just let you in on a little bit of good news today. You guys might notice we do have a dry erase board behind us, because we're going to start keeping track. We are into the holiday season, and I'm going to get fat, and that's a fact. So we're going to start, obviously, doing holiday charity work. We've been talking about it All Super Chats, starting from the time they were open this year, so mid-October, until December 7th, 100% of my Super Chats will be donated to my local church, which is partnered with St. Vincent de Paul here in the Eaton and Ingham County areas. They are partnered with Meijer, so every dollar I donate, they do a 2-to-1 match with Meijer. So I will be donating 100% of all of my Super Chats. We've gotten that number up to $15 so far, which a big shout out to all of you that have donated. Brandy Coffee, you're doing yeoman's work out here. So we're doing 100% of Super Chats, as well as people that I know in my day-to-day life have given me a couple of bucks for cash and just straight cash injection. So we have that over in one of the columns as well. And on top of that, guys, so I decided that I would be donating 30% of all of my winnings on DraftKings every week. Okay, every week I will set 30% aside if I win of all of my winnings to donate to the charity, right? And as you guys know, we did pretty decent on a couple standalone picks yesterday, right? Obviously, our Lions parlays did not hit at all, but look, we had some success, guys. We had some success starting with the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, we picked the Panthers game, won $37 there. Won a $14 on the New England Patriots win. Picked up $55. I made an afternoon parlay around the Rams and New Orleans Saints game. Okay, so what I did was the Rams to cover the spread, Puka to score, Tyler Shuck to throw an interception, Stafford to go hit his over on yards, and Devonta Adams also hit his over on yards. You see there, we made a nice little $5 into $55, right? So we were doing pretty well. And then I got a little excited, and I was like, you know what? Let's keep chasing on the Kansas City Bills game. So this is where our things started to tilt in our favor a little bit. I hit on a 6-leg plus 3,000 parlay. Josh Allen to score, the Bills to win, Josh Allen to hit his over passing and rushing, Dawson Knox to hit his 8.5 receiving yards over, James Cook to go over 91.5 yards, and Joey Bosa to get a single sack. I gambled $16.70, turned that into $517.70. I then proceeded to get hot and heavy on the Seahawks game. Well, we hit another 7-leg parlay on the Seahawks game, cash 10 into $277.50. I could go over all of them, but you guys know that it was a slaughter yesterday. The long and short of it is, guys, we ended up generating $872.50 yesterday. I do have the math over here. Now, there is still the Dallas game to go off of. I don't know how well you can see this. Not so well. Not so well. So, you can't really see it. But anyway, so we had $10 in cash injection, $15 in super so far. $50 in charitable winnings from a couple weeks ago. I've been on a dry spell. $260 from just yesterday alone, guys, brings our total to St. Vincent de Paul and Eaton Ingham County charitable drives this holiday season. We'll close the donation window by December 7th. That's when I have to get the money in. We've already got it up to a very impressive $335, you guys. So that's awesome. Give you guys yourselves a pat on the back right there. That's awesome. We got up to $335 with a 2-to-1 match. We're pushing $1,000, you guys. That is absolutely awesome. So shout out to everybody who's kind of helping us make picks and getting your super chats in and all that stuff, guys. I think that's pretty cool. So let's get it. Let's fucking get it. So yeah, we had a pretty successful day yesterday. Won almost $1,000. A little over almost $900. Not bad. Not bad, boys and girls. Not bad, you guys. Absolutely awesome. So I want to go and shout out Mad Hatter Nation. How you guys doing this morning? Yeah, same. The call on Jack Sack. The same thing happened to Goff and KC. No flag. Exactly. Rick C, you guys are seeing it. The refs are kind of screwing us there. Clarice, how you doing, sister? Morning, the game was embarrassing. I haven't serious doubts we will win our division playing flag football. We were nowhere near ready for a Super Bowl. I completely agree with you, Clarice, 100%. My mom's here. If I drank beer, I would have been crying in it. Exactly. Yeah, well, that's why it was not a great game for me yesterday either. Jody, how you doing, sister? Didn't Jack Campbell know that he must first lay down a fluffy pillow before tackling the opposing QB? So I don't know if you guys know this, but Detroit Lions players are expected to fly. We're expected to – so not fly as in they can thrust themselves away, but flying in the way that actually Superman flies. So you guys, Superman doesn't actually like defy gravity like through thrust or anything. He manipulates the molecules around him to force gravity in the opposite direction that allows him to traverse through the air. So that's actually what Jack Campbell needed to be able to do, is mid-flight he needed to manipulate the molecules around him to reverse the gravitational pull and change his trajectory. He also then needed to sing a lullaby and tuck J.J. McCarthy into his bed while making sure that his footy pajamas were on and there were no monsters under the bed. If all of those would have been met, then he probably wouldn't have gotten the roughing the call, but because he skipped the looking for monsters under the bed part, and that's where they got him. It's just we can't play a grown man sport, you guys. We just can't play a grown man sport. Brad, oh shit, dude, I forgot how to pronounce your last name. Accolades are nice, but if this team needs to get its shit together, too talented to look this bad. 100%. And shout out JMO for still grinding at the end there, still giving it his all. That was a hell of a touchdown by Jameson Williams. That was an all-effort play, guys. NFC North is the toughest division in the NFL, and it's not even close. All 4 teams are 500 and above. Only 2 Chiefs and 49ers third-place teams are a better record outside of our division. Rick C., shout out the stats. The NFC North is getting to be pretty, like I said, it's getting to be pretty tight. There's not a lot of separation there. It's going to be a slugfest right down to the very end. Every platform I watch says Johnny Moe needs to go. Jack 2125. I'm not going to call for Johnny Morton's job yet. I mean, he's called more good offensive games than he has not. Okay. This was a bad game as far as we made no mid-game adjustments, no halftime adjustments. It was very evident that whatever the plan was during the bye week did not work. Okay. Something needs to change with how we handled the bye week, because nobody seemed ready to go. Nobody seemed really excited to be out there. Trade for Zeitler. That could be a possibility, you guys. Tennessee should be a ready-to-sell team, and Zeitler, I know he went to Tennessee because he wanted to be closer to home, but, not only does he have familiarity with the team, but he could be still wanting to chase that ring. We look so bad or worse, but I'm not even worried about it. These things happen in sports. Steve, and that's kind of where I'm at. It was a bad game, and I was real butthurt yesterday, but, it just kind of like any given Sunday, man. Any given Sunday, it could happen. So what's up, you guys? Mad Hatter Nation, Sam's here, Mr. Detroit City's here, and Craig's here. Everybody, we got a full roster of people here. You guys, Mad Hatter Nation's turning out in full force. So if you haven't already, do all the things. Subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, poke the like button, and do the stuff. We're back at it for an hour here at the Hat and Beard Show, back on our normally scheduled program. Boys and girls, okay, now that I've talked for the first 20 minutes, let's get into the show.
If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well, then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and agree with Mr. Detroit City on this one 100%. That's pretty much the camp I'm at. Johnny Moe is fine. Jared Goff's lack of pocket awareness, the O-line issues, Gibbs and Brock missing blocks, bad special teams is not on Johnny Moe. A lot of Lions fans are just quick to attack and miss their girl, Ben. I think we got so accustomed to such a well-oiled machine under the tutelage of Ben Johnson. Small PP, Benedict Arnold, Osama Ben Johnson, the trader in the Windy City. I do think that it's just some growing pains, guys. It can't be perfect, right? It's not going to be perfect, and I ultimately, I think Johnny Moe is fine, okay? He will continue to grow. It's just, we're going to see these growing pains periodically. What's up, Riley? Good to see you, Riley O'Brien, in the chat. Everybody's here, and we are rocking and rolling. Let's get over and talk about Jayden Daniels and his chicken wang. Chicken wang ain't going to do much thing with that chicken wang. Washington Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels suffered a gruesome left arm injury in the fourth quarter of Sunday night's 38-14 loss to the Seabags. Daniels suffered a dislocated elbow and will have an MRI on Monday to determine how long he's out. The belief, per Rappaport, is that the dislocation might not be as bad as it could have been, but the signal caller is expected to miss several games. Yes, they could have broken his arm clean off of his body. The second-year quarterback suffered the injury when he was sacked by Seahawks Drake Thomas and was awkwardly slung to the ground. The serious nature of the injury was immediately evident, and Daniels' arm was quickly put into an air cast. Ugh, gross. Glad I missed that. Commies head coach Dan Quinn told reporters after the game that Daniels' injury was to his left elbow and that he would provide an update on Daniels' status once he knew more. The Commanders trailed the Seahawks 38-7 at the time of the injury. Quinn said that there was not a conversation about pulling Daniels from the blowout loss, but he understands that it would have made sense, quote, in hindsight. Daniels finished the game 16-22 for 153 yards with an interception and has suffered through an injury-plagued sophomore season, with the latest setback appearing to be the most severe. Gut-wrenching, subdued offensive lineman Samuel Kasimi told reporters after the game from the Washington locker room, "You could hear the air just taken out of everybody in the stadium. It's just not a good feeling. To see that, it really sucks." Yes, the air got taken out of the stadium and put into the cast. Daniels' last season's Offensive Rookie of the Year suffered a sprained knee in Week 2 and missed the following 2 games. He then suffered a hamstring injury in Week 7's loss to the Cowgirls that caused him to miss Washington's loss to the Chefs last Monday. Marcus Mariota started the previous 3 games, and Daniels sat out and went 1 of 2 with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He should be in the line to start with Daniels, expected to miss a few games. The Commanders face the Lions and Fish in Madrid, Spain, before a Week 12 bye. And, does that... I don't want to be like, hooray. But hooray? It's, as a Lions fan, considering we need to get back on the right track. Having Jayden Daniels not available for the game next week is not a bad thing. Do I wish it was under a different set of circumstances? Depending on the circumstances, you don't want him doing some type of illegal activity or something like that, but you don't want to see this type of an injury to one of the NFL's young and upcoming and very exciting stars, some guy that I am actually, good on you. And not for nothing, what is with the NFL and both of the Tim Tebow-esque as far as putting their faith on their sleeve, like Jayden Daniels and C.J. Stroud, both getting injured this week? Yeah, shit the bed, Fred. That really sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, Jingao. Oh, you like my General Sao? I'm going to give it to you now. Let's look at the trade deadline, guys. How we doing, Mad Hatter Nation? Mahomes had a bad day yesterday, too. It happened. See, Craig, you're right. Exactly. Perry, Goff is goofing up. Parrot, I wouldn't say that he's goofing up, but there's something, and I've got this theory, man. I've got this theory that Jared Goff is just very tired. He had a kid in the offseason. He's a first-time dad. There's a lot of pressure on him to maintain the level of play that he had under Ben Johnson. There's obviously a drop-off in the game style, the script, the way we go about it. Ben Johnson no longer being here is a little bit of a shift between Johnny Moe and Jared Goff, as well as the offensive line, not necessarily as good as it once was. I see Frank Ragnow not being there. So I do think you are kind of in the right direction. Goofing up, yes, as far as Goff be goofing, that's a funny term, goofy-ass Jared Goff. But I think the reality is my guy just looks tired. He just looks tired behind the eyes. You know what I'm saying? Something is off with Goff for sure. Brent DeWitt, you see it too. Goff is Goff. We paid all that money for a QB who lacks awareness, always has. That's true. They can't admit but scream to fire people like Morton. You're kind of right, Mr. Detroit City. Lacks awareness to an extent. Also is expecting the offensive line to hold up for more than a half a second. Expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to be able to actually block a guy, not just half-ass throw his fucking shoulder into him. You know what I'm saying? like, yes, Jared Goff does kind of need to work on his on-field awareness a little bit, but also he's expecting a certain standard, and the standard is what the standard should be. Felt that too. Something is off with Goff. Doesn't look excited this season. He was always inconsistent at first, and I wasn't a fan of his for a while. Clarice, the first year and a half Goff was here, I wasn't really sold on him either. He looked scared. He looked confused. Was not someone you could really hang your hat on, and then he really turned it around. But just something seems off with Jared Goff this year. I think he's just a little tuckered. I think he's just a little tuckered, Jared Goff. So I said last week, we need to have like a designated room at Ford Field where it's like, 15, 20 minutes before the game, Jared Goff can just go and take like a quick little nap. You know what I'm saying? Just a quick little power nap, just to kind of charge him up a little bit. Or someone needs to get that motherfucker a cup of coffee. Get him a damn cup of coffee on the sideline. Can I get it? Oh, yeah. Can we get him a cup of coffee? Ooh. He's getting a little tired on the sidelines there. You someone's gotta bring him a little cup of coffee there, a little pick me up on the sidelines. Ooh, the best part of waking up Jared Goff is Maxwell in your cup. You know what I'm saying? The NFL trade deadline's almost here, guys. Tuesday's 4 p.m. cutoff deals representatives' teams' last window to transform themselves, whether that means by acquiring a veteran or beefing up draft capital before the offseason arrives. So far, however, the action seems to be a bit stunted by an imbalance in the market, with far more teams looking to bring aboard top talent than those inclined to shed it. But the Week 9 outcome and injuries might sway several front offices. USA Today Sports will have the latest news and rumors. Check back with them regularly. Obviously, breaking news this morning. Oh, what's up, Carrie? Good to see you. Just a suggestion before the next game. How about smelling salt? I almost said it. I almost thought you were gonna say, "How about smelling farts, dude?" I thought you were gonna say smelling farts. Smelling salts, exactly, dude. Help pop them up. Let Monty join the O line. He'll protect Goff with his whole body. That exactly. NFL would fine Goff for drinking, dude. But how funny would it be if they just like panned over and Jared Goff's just like talking to Mark Brunell or like looking at film and he's just like, and just grabs it as just like an ad moment, just holds his cup up so that you can see whatever brand he is, like Black Rifle Coffee. Jared Goff becomes a coffee influencer. Jared Goff brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Oh, dude, I saw enough screen passes too. It was terrible. If you want to be better than the Eagles, you make a trade. Perry, welcome to Mad Hatter Nation, dude. I think you're gonna fit in pretty well here, brother. You seem to be talking to all the right things, my guy. Eagles land Jalen Phillips. Ugh. Fuck. That's who I wanted. I wanted Jalen Phillips. I really did. I wanted Jalen Phillips. Actually, I really want Kayvon Thibodeau, but I think we have bigger, fatter offensive line needs to fill. It didn't take long for the first significant trade in Week 9 to materialize. Early Monday morning, the Miami Dolphins agreed to trade edge rusher Jalen Phillips to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 26th third-round pick, according to multiple reports. Multiple reports, not just one, but multiple reports. In landing Phillips, the Eagles secure one of the deadline's biggest prizes. The former first-round pick has recorded 3 sacks in his last 5 games and figured to be one of the best edge rushers available, with the likes of Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, and potentially Trey Hendrickson out of reach. The Eagles are tied for 23rd in the NFL with just 16 sacks, but I thought that the Eagles were going to have this sack machine named Zadarius Smith. You guys told me that Zadarius Smith was this big-time, big-ass, top-tier edge rusher that we had to go re-sign. He was the only piece that the Detroit Lions could ever possibly use as opposite Aiden Hutchinson. There's nobody else on the roster that could ever get another sack other than Zadarius Smith. And oh my God, look at El-Kadim Muhammad, what he's been able to do. And oh my God, look at what Zadarius Smith has done. The Eagles are tied for 23rd with 16 sacks in just through 8 games, while ranking 17th in pressure rate. Phillips will join a rotation led by Jalix Hunt. Am I saying that right? Jalix Hunt. And Brandon Graham, and Nolan Smith remains on injured reserve with a triceps injury. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio also coached Phillips in 23 when he was an edge rusher, notched 6.5 sacks in 8 games before a torn Achilles ended his season early. The Dolphins, meanwhile, began to bolster their draft capital and a reset after parting ways with GM Chris Greer on Friday. Trey Hendrickson trade rumors. Could the Bengals actually deal standout defensive end? When the Bengals began their resurgence, parting with standout defensive end, Trey Hendrickson seemed like a complete non-starter. Now, however, there might be at least an opening. Jay Glazer reported Sunday morning that the Bengals were no longer giving teams the hard no with which they had been responding to previous trade inquiries regarding Hendrickson. And that was prior to the heartbreaking loss to the Bears that dropped the Bengals to 3-6. Yep, it's time to pull out the Acme plunger, Cincinnati. Time to pull out the Acme plunger and light this popsicle. Miami trade rumors are a no-go for Jalen Waddle. Any team hoping to make a major upgrade at wide receiver via trade might be disappointed by the landscape that awaits them. While the Miami Dolphins do appear to be open for business after GM Chris Greer and the team parted ways last Friday, multiple reports indicate it would be highly unlikely that the organization would part with wide receiver Jalen Waddle. The speedster has taken on the role of Tua Tagovailoa's unquestionable top target, with Tyreek Hill sidelined for the remainder of the season. Both ESPN and NFL Network reported it would take more than a first-round pick to pry Waddle from Miami. And here are some other candidates that seem to be, and this is, obviously, you've seen the Ravens traded Jair Alexander to the Eagles. So the Eagles are really bolstering their defense to make a Super Bowl run. They can clearly see that the NFC East, they are the cream of the crop, and they're going to walk away with it. So they are now looking at the long-term run, the postseason, and how they can get back to the Super Bowl to have a repeat season and challenge the dynasty that is the Kansas City Chiefs for the team of the decade. So you can see here, though, some other names up here. Chris Olave has been mentioned a lot. Jalen Phillips is gone. Breece Hall keeps popping up, and the Jets, I think that's going to come down to what can they get for him and what does Breece Hall want, because Breece Hall is the type of running back I think that the Jets need, that Aaron Glenn needs and can build around, but the Jets are just not a good organization. Alante Taylor has been a name that's been popping up quite regularly, the corner out of New Orleans, as well as Quincy Williams and the Jets. You see the names here of the teams, obviously some bottom feeder organizations looking to move some guys for some draft capital. I do like the idea of the Lions bringing in some type of assistance, though. Jalen Phillips was my hot and heavy name that I was really, really excited about. And the reality is we're going to have to give up a lot from a Lions perspective to try and get Trey Hendrickson. Do you really feel like giving up a first-round pick? At this point, I kind of like what we have with Al-Qadim Muhammad and Aiden Hutchinson. And then there's always the notion that Marcus Davenport will be back at some point, right? All right, so Mad Hatter Nation, how we doing, guys? Lions Loyalty, what's going on? How you doing? Good to see you. Morton was doing fine, then everyone got on him about JMO touches, and then we looked out of sync. Dude, I agree, man. It seems like things are kind of forced. Like we were kind of like, all right, we're gonna just super shift gears. You know what I'm saying? Like it just seemed, I don't know, something didn't quite seem right. It just didn't. Yesterday, it just seemed so out of sync. Now, I guess you could take a little silver lining, and with as out of sync as the team looked yesterday, at least we still kept it close. That blocked field goal could have definitely changed a lot of situational football, could have turned the tides, and we could have had a similar situation with the bad game we had last year at Houston, whereas like despite playing like ass, we still came out the other end. But as I always say, ifs and buts were candies and nuts. If my grandma had been born with wheels, she'd have been a wagon. And here we are with a third loss coming out of the bye week. Come on. Out of the bye week to the Minnesota Queens with J.J. McCarthy. Are you fucking serious? How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Pac Lolo, how you doing, brother? I got the Monday blues. I do too, brother. I do too. Maybe it was the time change. It was weird. Something just seemed, so we're all picking up on that vibes things. Things just seemed weird. It just seemed weird. As bad as we played, losing by 3 is no small feat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there is a silver lining. I can be all negative on the Lions as I want, and I will. But the reality is, at least we still kept it close. And the reality of that, though, is that we have this tendency to play down to lesser opponents' talent level. Almost like, maybe we spent too much time sniffing our own farts this bye week and thinking that we were a little bit better than we were after our big primetime game Monday night where The secondary showed up, a bunch of scrubs. I don't want to say scrubs, but a bunch of scrubs showed up and played outstanding against a better NFC opponent. In prime time, we could get a little bit of glazing, the whole nation looking at us, feeling a little good. Yeah, bye week. All right, it's Halloween. All right, all right, all right. Feeling good, feeling great. Walk into a buzzsaw Sunday. Great job. Great job, guys. At least we didn't lose to the Panthers, Brent DeWitt, at least we didn't lose to the Panthers. But Carolina under Dave Canales is kind of, big ship turns slow. That big ship is starting to come around, if I do say so myself. They at least got something moving right there. At least they got something going on there. A little bit of identity starting to come around. At post Christian McCaffrey, I mean, the Panthers were kind of just a ship adrift. You know what I'm saying? But now I think they're starting to kind of tilt into the identity of Rico Dowdle is the engine that turns the Carolina Panthers machine and gets them moving. It takes a lot of pressure off of Bryce Young to have a functioning run game, and then he can continue to develop with the young wide receiver core. The Panthers, though, are they a legit contender this year? No. Do they have a foundation that you could start to build off of? Yeah, I think they do. And a big win against Green Bay like this is something that builds momentum for a young and hungry team with a young, hungry head coach. I think this could be a landmark victory for them. Maybe the Panthers are plus 500 this year after beating the Packers. You know what I'm saying? This could be a turnaround game for them right here. This could be something kind of like when the Lions beat Minnesota a few years ago. Maybe you see the Panthers kind of go on this little bit of a momentum-fueled run, buying into their own hype. You know what I'm saying? It's a possibility. It's an absolute possibility. What's up, Brandy? Hell yeah, appreciate that, sister. At least Green Bay lost. F the Packers. Appreciate the super chat. That is super awesome. As you guys know, all super chats are being donated between now and December 7th. 100% of super chats go to a charity that my church is working through, partnered with St. Vincent de Paul, who's also partnering with Meyer on a 2-to-1, $2 to every one I donate. They donate $2 to the St. Vincent de Paul charities here for the holidays. So it's a pretty cool thing that we're doing here, and I appreciate you donating on the super chat. It's going to a good cause, you guys. I think it's going to a good cause. So over here at Heavy, the Lions make historic announcement after the Vikings game. What did we do? What did we do? Well, it's nothing really to get that exciting about. During the game, the Lions running back David Montgomery rushed for his 30th touchdown as a Lion. In doing so, the Lions announced that Montgomery and running back Jahmyr Gibbs are the NFL's first running back duo in the Super Bowl era to each reach 30-plus touchdowns over any 3-season span. It's pretty impressive. Another Lion made history, too. Linebacker Jack Campbell. Action Jack Campbell. You guys know I was really high on him in the preseason. I still am. I've dubbed him the second coming of Brian Urlacher. Jack Campbell became the Detroit's first off-ball linebacker to produce 1 sack in 3 straight games since Antonio London in 1995. So Jack Campbell quietly having a all-pro season. I told you guys that we needed to watch out for him. He's going to be pretty potent. You know what I mean? I like Jack Campbell. I always have. There was some speculation on him coming out of the draft. Braylon Edwards was kind of down on him, but I thought he really felt and meshed well with what Dan Campbell and the organization was trying to do as far as the caliber, grittiness, the cerebralness of the player. And it's been really encouraging to see the development of Action Jack Campbell, the elevation of his play, the continued steps forward in conjunction with the elevation and the development and the steps forward of Calvin Shepard, because Jack Campbell is a direct reflection of Calvin Shepard's evolution from assistant linebackers coach to defensive coordinator, and he's having an outstanding season, both of them this year. And I think part of the reason why Calvin Shepard is able to have such a good season is his communicator on the field is a guy who he has single-handedly developed from a rookie into what is turning out to be an all-pro linebacker year, and that is Jack Campbell. So a very important piece to have on our defense's action. Jack Campbell. The Bengals gave the game to the Bears so unbelievably bad. Lions loyalty, it really, really was. Lions loyalty, I can't tell. Is your picture, are you Tracy? I'm not gonna lie, because your profile picture looks almost the same as Tracy's. I just can't quite tell. My bad. And don't take that like offensively or nothing. It's so small on my screen. I just can't quite tell. We need to play all 4 quarters, Clarice. Yeah, not just turn it on with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You know what I'm saying? Braylon Edwards can't handle his own show, to be honest. Cool guy, awesome player. But Woodward Sports is a joke. Bray gets caught all the time talking about the side of his topics. Yep, you are completely correct, Mr. Detroit City. That's why I don't really watch him. Skins lost to the Sea Skulls. Yes, they did. What did I say? KC lost to Buffalo, Carrie, and they sure did. And I won $500 on a parlay on that game. Got his raise. Got Ryan Armani the show. Got Ryan Armani. Oh, gotcha. It's all the knowledgeable outside wide receiver talk. Jayden Daniels' injury looked horrible. Yeah, Pac Lolo. I'm sorry if I say that wrong right off the rip, dude. My bad. I didn't see it, and I seen the pictures. I'm not too wild about body like horror and that type of shit, so I did not watch that, and I don't really feel like watching it because shit's gross. Not my thing. All right, guys, let's take a little look here. Mad Hatter Nation, we got some grades coming from SI on the Lions. Our boy Christian Boer doling out. Principal Boer giving the quarterback a C. Goff was solid on the first drive, which accumulated in a touchdown to Sam Laporta, but spent most of the afternoon dealing with pass rush that couldn't be slowed up front. As a result, he was forced out of the pocket, and at times his lack of mobility was exposed. Lack of mobility? What are you talking about? He is the most mobile stone statue I have ever seen lumbering around on the field. Running backs getting a big D. The running backs getting a big D. The Vikings entered Sunday's game ranked in the bottom third of the league in run defense, and so it was expected that Detroit would be able to get going on the ground. However, that was not the case, as neither Jahmyr Gibbs nor David Montgomery were able to make a consistent impact. Wide receivers getting a C. Just 2 wide receivers caught passes on Sunday. Amon-Ra St. Brown hauling in 9 passes and J-Mo catching 4. St. Brown had 9 catches for 97 yards, while Williams had 66 and a touchdown. Tight ends. 1 tight end was the only bright spot we had. Getting an A, Sam Laporta was a massive bright spot for the Lions, particularly early in the game. Laporta hauled in 3 passes on the first series, including a 40-yard touchdown and a 4th down to open the scoring. And I was like, ooh, look at us. We be looking good. We looking good. And then that team decided to pack it up and pack it in and then just dip out. Offensive line, an F, and that is just a unbelievably fancy F. I think that what they should get is an NA. They should get a no, you know what I'm saying? Not available. Oh, my bad. You guys, Lions Loyalty and Trace. You see guys? What's up, Tracy? How you doing, sister? Good to see you. Do you guys see how the profile pictures look almost the same? My bad, Lions Loyalty, dude. Don't take offense or anything. Your guys' profile picture looks almost the damn same, dude. Like I just couldn't quite tell. You know what I'm saying? Oy vey. I'm just an idiot. Vikings defense coordinator Brian Flores had a game plan that flummoxed Detroit's offensive line for much of Sunday's game. The interior offensive line, which features a rookie and second-year player, struggled to contain Minnesota's pass rush. In addition to 5 sacks, the Vikings notched a total of 11 hits throughout Sunday's game. They were unable to pave run lanes as well, and Detroit averaged just 3.3 yards per carry. Defensive line gets a C. McCarthy's mobility caused some issues as the quarterback ran for 9 times for 12 yards and extended multiple plays. Hutch was a consistent presence in the backfield, notching a sack and 3 hits, but also had unnecessary roughness penalty when he kicked McCarthy going to the ground. I don't know if he really kicked him per se. He was his moment. I wouldn't say that's a ticky-tacky penalty. You know what I'm saying? That's ticky-tacky as hell. Very Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, Lions. Yeah, so I'm just it's what it was. It's the blue background that I can just, because it's so small on my screen, I could just see the blue with the stuff in the middle. So that's kind of where I thought. My bad, dude. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Welcome to the Hat and Beard Show. Hopefully you fit in here at Mad Hatter Nation, dude. You know what I'm saying? You seem to be a pretty knowledgeable dude, and I appreciate you engaging in the chat, dude. Linebackers getting to see Barnes and Jack Campbell Both had big days against the Vikings as both recorded a sack. Campbell got on an impressive bull rush that resulted in a 14-yard loss and forced a long field goal attempt. So real quick here, linebacker C, Derek Barnes and Jack Campbell have been playing really, really, really well. And it's not necessarily the best thing to say here at Grandma Studio One, considering Hat and Boobs is a huge Alex Anzalone fan. But I don't see a world where Alex Anzalone his play is going to justify a contract extension here in the Motor City. I think he is hit the wall. I think he has taken a significant step back, at the very least, not a step forward. I'm not going to say not a step forward, but staying still. At the very least, he could stay still where he's at. But I think he's actually taken a step back. He seems a little bit slower, a little bit more out of place, not making the big plays that we have grown accustomed to him making time after time after time. Seems to be a little bit lost in the wash periodically. But at that same time, I could also say the same thing about Brian Branch. Brian Branch seemed a little timid yesterday, a little not wanting to go full power. I do think we need to take the power plug out of Brian Branch's helmet and let him go Super Saiyan. That Jack Campbell sack call was retarded by the refs. It really was, Pac Lolo. It really was. Absolutely. Like, what do you want the man to do? Even the commentators were like, well, Tom Brady was like, what do you want him to do? Like, what's he supposed to do? If this is Anzo's swan song, he gave us some good times. He did give us some good times. He did, and he was a pivotal point, a strong foundation for us to build the new and improved Detroit Lions. The franchise moving forward wouldn't be where it is today without Alex Anzalone. There is still half a season left to play, and he's not playing bad. I just don't know if he's going to justify the money that I think he's going to want to stay here in Detroit, especially if Malcolm Rodriguez comes back and plays at all like Malcolm Rodriguez is capable of playing. Same fans who are talking Johnny Morton blame him for Anzo missing plays too. AA looks half step slower this year, no new contract coming. Again, same fans who ride JMO, TA, Anzo are the same ones calling Morton's job. Shout out, actually, Mr. Detroit City, shout out Terry and Arnold. Right before that interception, I was just about to say to Hat and Boobs, I was just about to say, it's a good thing that Terry and Arnold's been playing and we haven't heard his name called at all. That means that he's doing what he did last year. Out of the bye week, he's able to figure it out and keep his dirty little dick beaters off of wide receivers. And then he goes and has one of the most insane interceptions this season. If that ball had wiggled at all, they would have overturned the call. That ball did not wiggle at all. Shout out Terry and Arnold getting his first career interception in the most Detroit Lions Dan Campbell way possible. Just outworking your man for the pick, dude. Like, shout out Terry and Arnold. So, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, and the third verse, same as the first. Terry and Arnold, post-bye week, seems to be able to figure it out. What's up, Derek? Yeah, dude, it sucked, bro. It was rough. Not disrespecting. I like Anzo. Not crazy about him. But he did cover Justin Jefferson in coverage. What the heck is that? Yeah, ARF9, dude. Shout out, brother. Shout out. I was thinking it was TA's best game this year. It was, but didn't he get dinged up? I think they said he was dinged up with had to come out of the game for a little bit in return. TA missed more plays with injuries. Yeah, Mr. Detroit City, that's what I thought. I thought he got dinged up, dude. It looked like he got dinged up. Good luck with the grand goober, Trace. Oh, gotcha. She's Tracy doing grandma duty. Hell yeah. Let's play a complete game. High snap percentages like first rounds do, like 46, 97, etc. Mr. Detroit City, I'm with you on that one, but there could be a little bit of a gun shyness with the secondary, seeing as how Kirby Joseph tried to give it a go, and now it seems to be biting us in the butt. Pac Lolo, I am also very worried about our offensive line. The secondary got a C. Terry and Arnold and Brian Branch returned Sunday. While both made strong impact plays, the group wasn't able to recapture their magic from Week 7. Arnold had a big day with 3 pass breakups and his first career interception. And then finally, special teams. Well, they were special, but not in the way we want them to be. They were special as in they rode the short bus. It was a difficult day for Dave Phipps' groups. The Vikings vastly outplayed the Lions on special teams. For starters, Miles Price returned the first kickoff 61 yards to set up Minnesota's first touchdown. Jake Bates was able to convert on all of his field goal attempts, which came from 41 yards and out, but had his fourth quarter attempt blocked in what would be ultimately decided the game. And coaching gets a D. The Lions' play calling Sunday left more to be desired as they called some ill-fated screens and struggled to get in rhythm offensively. Offensive coordinator Johnny Morton's group couldn't stay in advantageous situations and once again struggled on third down. It was not... what I think we've seen offensively was the things that we really needed to get cleaned up during the bye week. The tweaks, the changes, and the adjustments I think we all were expecting and have come to expect out of the Dan Campbell era did not seem to have been tweaked, changed, or retooled. I would say that our offense, although put up more points, did our offense not feel exactly the same as we did against Green Bay week 1? Just out of rhythm, half-assing it, nobody really jiving. It felt like they'd spent time away from one another and the chemistry just wasn't there, which is why I'm pointing at the bye week. I'm pointing at Halloween. I'm talking about something is just off. I got very same vibes as I got from the Packers game week 1. You know what I'm saying? Just half-assing it. Until then, can't jump up and down on my bed for players like that. Preach, dude. Preach. Clock management was terrible. Screens are just boring plays, but sometimes they pop, so that's what you have. Well, Lions loyalty and screen passes are utilized in conjunction when you have a failed running game. It's a cheap and easy way to kind of develop a run game without utilizing the run game. These short screens, small passes, kind of spread out the defense, uncongest the box a little bit, and force the secondary, the safety players back a little bit, keeps them a little bit more honest. So the screens were really, a couple of them were okay, but the third, fourth time that they weren't working, you were just getting fucking desperate, Morton. You were just getting desperate. Your offensive line had no push. Graham Glasgow looked lost and fucking confused, didn't seem to know what the hell he was doing. Penei Sewell couldn't fucking see what the hell he was doing, and honestly, Taylor Decker just looks old. He looks old and washed. He just looks old and washed, in my humblest of humble opinions, and I am the humblest at being humble. There's never been a person more humble than me. If the line, Gibbs, and Brock are missing blocks, you got to pass quick. Yeah, well, and the thing is, though, Mr. Detroit City, is even though you got to pass quick, the Vikings defense seemed really fast. They seemed fast. And they seemed like they wanted it more. That's if your QB has no awareness like Goff does. If your QB can sense pressure, add an extra second or two, then the longer routes can be ran. Exactly. Sewell straight got eye-fucked. Yeah, he did. And I'm going to sound like sour grapes, okay, guys? But historically, the Vikings, tend to be a little bit more aggressive as far as helmet-to-helmet hits. I noticed some what felt like deliberate attempts to twist legs to bind up Lions players around the knees and ankles. I'm not saying that the Vikings are dirty, but I get a little bit of dirty vibes from them a little bit. Like, they like to take the cheap shots. They're not going to come out and beat you just toe to toe. They're going to throw sand in your face. They're going to do every little dirty thing that they can, and that's Kevin O'Connell. He's a dirty little dirtbag. You know what I mean? He's a grimy little greasy bastard. But guys, so the Lions trading for an offensive lineman at the NFL trade deadline seems pretty unlikely, and here's why. At the tackle spot, I know that Decker is dealing with nagging injuries right now, and feeling that this could be his final year keeps growing and growing. But that's probably not going to mean the Lions are going to look for his replacement right now. They have your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper. Let's pause this guy. They have your friendly neighborhood Dan Skipper, who has played well in relief, and they have Devin Cochran on the practice squad. Plus, they'll get Giovanni Manu back soon. No matter what, the feeling with this team is that as long as Decker can play, he's going to play. At guard, where the Lions just lost Mahogany for a while, it's a little bit more set. We've seen Kyoto Awashika start for the Lions multiple times and do all right out there. They trust him. Behind him is Tristan Colon, who has played 57 games and started 16 at guard and center in the NFL. That's enough experience to feel comfortable until late December when Dan Campbell believes the Lions could potentially get Mahogany back. Teams usually aren't going to trade good offensive line depth. If you think the Lions have bad offensive line depth, so does the rest of the NFL. This is a lot like a kicker, where it's hard to find good guys. And once you do, you hold on to them for dear life. There just aren't a lot of starting caliber tackles and guards who are sitting on the benches around the league. If they are, why would a team want to trade them, knowing how hard it would be to replace them? At the end of the day, it's not that the Lions don't want to, it's that they may find it extremely hard to get it done. And then you can see here I voted for Jermaine Johnson. I'd like the Lions to trade for Jermaine Johnson. So the reality is there's just not a lot of guys. And if there are guys, there are so few guys that teams are going to hold on to them for dear life because they understand the importance of a valuable, high-caliber swing tackler or multi-position interior offensive lineman. That's why Graham Glasgow was a valuable asset to have on the team as a secondary player because he could play all three positions along the interior offensive line in a pinch. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily a starting caliber guy where he's being thrust into this entire season, and the drop-off between him and Ragnow is just freaking galactic at this point. You know what I'm saying? Zeitler could cost a fifth-round pick easy. I'm not worried. I'd take Zeitler for a fifth round. Evan Brown from Arizona should be cheap. Also, maybe a fifth. Familiar with coaches and systems, there are many easy plug-and-play solutions. I like Evan Brown. I think he's just signed an extension in Arizona, though. Have we heard anything on Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ, over there in Oakland or Las Vegas? No reason to stress the Super Bowl is ours. I like the thought of Brown, Mr. Detroit City. Yeah, I've always liked Evan Brown. I'm pretty sure he signed a decent contract extension in Arizona. Now say the Toys are going to contend for first place in the North. That tiny Johnson, dude. There's no way the Bears are going to compete for first, unless the Lions and Packers just completely implode. Murray's Dunzone, Arizona has another center there. Oh, gotcha. His deal's about up. Gotcha. That's what's going on with Brown for sure. Let's look up Jackson Powers Johnson. Most likely target. ESPN identifies Jackson's most likely target. Trade idea, Vikings sneaky get great plan. Damn it, we don't want him to go to the we don't want him to go to any of those places. We want him to go to Detroit. All right, so there's still some scuttlebutt around JPJ. Yeah, dude. Buccaneers might trade for him. Yeah, JPJ seems to be a hot name. We'll have to watch that going into tomorrow afternoon because I like the idea of trying to bring in a JPJ. We could get another O-lineman, but you can depend on us having to give up an arm and a leg for them if we do. Lions loyalty, you're right, dude. And that's the thing. It's what type of player are we getting in exchange for the draft capital? Derek Harp, not a fan of John Morton. I think we need to give him a little bit of time, but how's this? When John Morton, his peaks are very, very high, and his valleys are very, very low. Brown is a good idea. I didn't even think of him. That's a solid maneuver. He's got a lot of experience here, with the Lions organization, and he played really, really well. That's why he's been paid. That's why he got paid so well by other teams after his tenure in Detroit, because he played really, really well, and he's very versatile along the offensive line. On the positive side, this loss might light a fire under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, who we are really missing. Art, shout out Art Vanderlei. Good morning, brother. Good to see you. Yeah, dude, it sucks. A loss sucks, and it sucks. Mondays, not having that victory sucks, especially if I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm really glad I got some W's in DraftKings yesterday because it's been kind of a shit kicker of a week, dude. Friday, we had the vote for the CBA that I negotiated, and guess what? They voted it down. So we have to go back to the negotiating table. Oh, and because of all the extensions that we filed, we're probably now going to lose our back pay for half a year because all the idiots voted it down. So I lost money there. Saturday, didn't get everything done that I wanted to get done around the house. Then the Lions turn around and fucking lose. So it's just been kind of like one blow after another, guys. But the silver lining is that all things happen for a reason, and possibly this is the, I do think that we were getting a little too high on our own supply. I do think we were sniffing our own farts a little bit and thinking that, all right, we are the cream of the crop. No, we are no longer the underdogs. We now are entitled to be here. We are the Detroit Lions. Well, you're not proving it. You're not proving it. You might have the name on your jersey, and you might still have the same head coach, but you're not playing the way you were playing 2 years ago. The fire's not there. The hunger's not there. The drive's not there. You're not sharp. You're not explosive. You're half-assing it. You're expecting to win, but not going out there and actually winning. It's evident when we play down to opponents. That's why we kind of toy with our food a little bit. We should have put the Vikings away. That first drive should have just been repeated all game long. There was no reason why we should have let the Minnesota Queens put up as many points as they did. They took advantage of key opportunities. We couldn't put them away, and we were just playing with our food all goddamn day. So until the Detroit Lions get their head out of their ass, realize who they are, who they were, and get back to playing as the team that they once were when they made the NFC Championship game, when they were the first team, the number one seed in the NFC with 197 players on IR because you went out there every single week and you wanted it more. All right, until we get back to being that team. Stop being, I got commercial deals, I got brand deals, I just got paid, I'm this guy, I'm that guy, blah, blah, blah. Not for nothing. They made a whole ass movie about this. I believe it was called Rocky 3. You lost the eye. You lost that hunger, Rock. You got to get the eye of the tiger back, Rock. I don't want to hear that you're scared. Don't be out here saying that you're scared, Mick. All right, guys. Going to wrap it up today. Appreciate each and every one of you who hung out while we talked about the Commanders and Jayden Daniels' goofy noodle arm. We looked at some trade deadline players. Obviously, Jaden Phillips leading the names in the day. Philadelphia coming out hot and heavy, making two big trades right before the trade deadline, bolstering their defense, and the Eagles seem to be gearing up for another run at the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions made a couple of historic breakthroughs and announcements, with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs becoming the first NFL running back duo in the Super Bowl era to both eclipse 30 touchdowns in their first 3 seasons, as well as Jack Campbell becoming the first off-ball linebacker for the Detroit Lions since 1995 to record a sack in 3 straight games. We then broke down and took Christian Boer's opinion and said, yep, you're right, if not being a little too nice to the players, and gave positional grades to all of the positional groups for the Detroit Lions against the Minnesota Vikings. Not a great game. Not a great game. Not a good game. And then we briefly just kind of skimmed over the reality of why the Lions won't be able to make a splash trade for an offensive lineman, at least a starting big-name caliber offensive lineman, because there's just not that many guys out there, and the capital that we'd have to give up is just ultimately not worth it. Appreciate every single one of you who tuned in, who shared, who commented, engaged in Mad Hatter Nation. Again, it's awesome. You guys are fun. You're hanging out, and if you're watching the live show and you want to engage in the chat, please do. Okay, these guys, they're wondering where you're at. They want you to come and hang out. They want to hear your opinion. We all want to hear what your take is, whether it be the same or different than ours. Feel free. That's what makes Mad Hatter Nation great, is because of viewers like you, and they're all wondering where you're at. So make sure that you have the notification bell turned on so that you can be notified every single time we go live Monday through Friday, as well as pregame shows for our digital tailgate before every single Lions game. We will be back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Like the video on your way out the door. Share this around with every single one you know. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Until tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bonga bonga. Frig off.